So, as you know, I like the odd networking event, and over the years there's the Juice Breakfast in Brighton, and it turned into, I think, Global Breakfast, and now it's known as the Big Breakfast Club, which I know Chris has been to. I don't know if anyone else has been to, Mia and Ed as well. In fact, that's where we met, wasn't it? And recent times, there's been chat coming up, being asked to do a quick 5-minute presentation about marketing. And for me, marketing, you know, being a door-to-door, my pedigree was, you know, door-to-door office equipment selling. It was just like knocking down the door and getting the deal. Marketing, dark art, really, not really, you know, who know what marketing's all about. But anyway, this chap kept popping up on this event and sometimes on the virtual screen and delivering like a 5-minute, brilliantly presented nuggets of marketing wisdom. And that person was Alex Ryan. And I got the opportunity to pursue him, track him down, and bully him to come and talk to us for a little bit longer than 5 minutes. And so it's a great pleasure to welcome you here, Alex, to the Doghouse, to the BLA, and I think we're going to do some clever stuff. So
it's on, actually.
Those members who aren't here, shame on you. We're going to you'll be able to see Alex's wisdom as well. I don't know much about your background, having sort of recently met you, but looking at your LinkedIn profile recently, I noticed that you have 1,477 followers, which I assume is quite a lot of people. Harry, how many have you got, just to check?
I'm not sure, it's probably
27?
less than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like me, you know. So I think that's quite a lot, but no doubt you've got some various degrees in marketing and stuff like that, but I know that you specialise as a consultant in manufacturing. Gift association is one of your big things.
Yeah,
gift things.
Gift Association. Yeah,
Yeah.
which is the main trade body for the gift and UK retail industry.
Yes.
Them and BIRA and the FSB are kind of the main.
Yeah. So retail marketing, gifts, and any other specialisations I should mention?
None of my clients are in gift, weirdly enough, except the Gift Association
Yeah.
I consult with. Yeah, no, a really varied collection of clients. So no specialist subjects, except perhaps what I'm about to talk about, which is why my client base might be so varied, I guess. Mystical.
But anyway, I'm really pleased that you're here. I'm sure we're all going to learn an awful lot, and I hope it's going to be a little bit more than 5 minutes of wisdom, which I'm used to, but we'll be all ears, and thank you. The floor is yours.
Pleasure, thank you very much. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. Look at that. Nobody else has ever got applause. God.
Built me up. Yeah, I mean, how much you're going to learn, I don't want to put a number against it, but hopefully you'll at the very least find it in part interesting and hopefully some insight as well. So thank you very much for having me along. Plug this back in before I begin. Not sure if anyone else has had the same experience as me recently, where having spent 2 years presenting on Zoom, coming back to actually standing in front of people and looking at screens and trying to, my script's always below the camera, so hopefully I'll do it justice for you today. So yeah, thank you for having me along, really appreciate it, Neil, thank you for the invite. So I will introduce myself just a little bit better first and see if this works. Excellent. So this is me, I'm Alex Ryan. I'm a marketing consultant and owner of the agency Marketing 101, where we deliver marketing campaigns of varying sizes for varying businesses, very varied businesses. The agency itself is very small. I try and keep as little marketing delivery inside the agency as possible. And that's because what I actually sell, I suppose, is a concept I came up with a couple of years back called the Proxy Marketing Manager Service. And what that is where I position myself right next to the client and in between them and the third parties who then go on to deliver the marketing. And what that gives them is a marketing expert right nudged up against them, where they may not be able to afford an actual marketing manager and we might just not want one, but that's got their interests represented. We work together to build a strategy to choose the third parties and then I run all that management of those third parties on their behalf. So it very much is a marketing manager role, and that's why I try and keep as little actual delivery inside. We keep marketing admin inside the agency, and the rest we go to third parties, and it's become quite a nice system for my clients. Beyond that, I'm a podcaster. I have 3 podcasts. I have my marketing podcast, Big Steps for Small Businesses, where I deliver bits of advice, like the one I mentioned earlier about things to think about for naming your business, or what social media channels to choose for your business, how to get the best out of your LinkedIn. I have the Product Cast, which is in the world of gift. So that is a retail podcast, UK retail, sponsored by the Giftware Association, which, as I mentioned, are the trade body for gift in the UK. We interview anyone from designers of brand new products, all the way up to the manufacturers, distributors, and the retailers. So we've had people like the head buyers from John Lewis and Waitrose on the podcast. So that's a real kind of area of passion for me is the UK gift industry. And then finally I have the Superpowers Club, which I do with my mates, which is very much not suitable for work, but if you like embarrassing tales of people that you've met and reliving them in horrible detail, then that might be of interest for you. I'm a blogger, kind of comes with the territory, marketing. I have a marketing blog, and again, it's a retail blog. One of my guys is the Secret Santa Guru. So it's a blog which I keep seasonal, whipped out every Christmas and review all the latest things off high street. I try and keep them the kind of things you won't find on the high street. And I vlog, I guess, / present general video work. So I do, again, a lot of unboxing, gifts and gadgets, and I do a bit of presenting work and hosting work as well. This was the Gift of the Year Awards last year, which I presented over Zoom. I had to repeat the same awards ceremony 16 times across 6 days in the Britain and Time offices. Actually, I streamed that from. Very unpleasant because they didn't want to have all the awards done in one sitting. It would take too long. So that was awful, if I'm entirely honest. And then we always talk about B2B, right, or B2C, so it's always business to business or business to consumer. And one thing I think really is important, and I try to embrace, is H to H, human to human, when you're thinking about your business and your marketing. At the end of the day, we're all humans buying from other humans. Yes, you've got your mass marketing or your automation funnels and those kind of things, but realistically, I think it's important. That's why I love networking. It's why I sell myself face to face most of the time, and my business human to human. So, what have I written about myself? Certainly going on too much. Music, really important to me. Musicals and punk are my go-to, so consider that. I DJ quite a lot. I'm currently a pirate. Very few people can say that. I am on a pirate radio station, and therefore a real-life pirate right now. I'm also a drummer. My distractions are Harry Potter, Lego. I was in the doghouse last night, actually, because of completing that instead of cooking dinner. Lego, a bit of gaming, a lot of cooking. Basically, millennial hobbies are my thing. So that's me. There is more to me, as you're going to learn, because when Neil asked me to do this presentation, I admit I panicked a little bit because I only used 5 minutes or maybe 10 minutes here and there. The BNI kind of setup of you get those set slots, and I thought 45 minutes on me and or marketing. It wasn't so much that I was worried about making it interesting. I was worried about making it unique, bringing something which you haven't heard before, perhaps. And I thought that would be important with a group like you guys. So marketing, fine. Insights, I have maybe a bit of a different perspective in marketing. I've talked about that before, so that will come out throughout as well. But what I got to, on the retail podcast that I mentioned, I always ask the same question of my guests, and that is, how did you end up here? Right, so I've discovered I'm a bit fascinated by people's journeys. No one really, very rarely, studies for something, goes into that job and is still doing it now, right? We all have this kind of strange veering journey. I always talk about it being you're the sum of your parts. Okay, some people have very few parts. They have, my partner studied, is doing the job he studied for, and some people have many more parts. And I'd never turned that question on myself before, and I started to think about it. I seem to have a lengthier sum of my parts, or more parts than most people that I meet. And I had a bit of a revelation. I've never thought about it before. When I was, 1998, however old that made me, I was diagnosed with ADHD. who knows what ADHD is, roughly, or anyone in detail? No. Okay. Well, that's good. That's going to work nicely for this. That's good then. If you all were experts, this would be really dull. So I'm about as high on the ADHD spectrum as it kind of goes. And my revelation, I'll explain more about what ADHD is in a second. But my revelation was that ADHD is often seen as something which affects you in the moment. It's your behaviour, your communication, your control. And actually, I think that ADHD is almost a lifestyle, perhaps, but it's been, I think it's been there my whole life, guiding me, taking decisions almost for me. And again, as I began to explore that and discuss that with people, they started to liken this kind of discovery to the life of a kind of a, I think it was the Jim Carrey film, Yes Man, right? Where you just say yes to everything. I think ADHD encourages that in people. You find everything interesting. Everything sounds like something you want to try out, something you want to do, a person that you want to meet, you want to get to know them more. And you do end up saying yes to everything. And people often use that phrase, try anything once. My ethos, even before I put these two things together, I've always said it, is try everything once. And that is something that now again, with this presentation in mind and this kind of insightful moment I had, like, oh God, that's ADHD again. Let's try everything once. That's this excitement of, I see ADHD as a bit of a joy of life, but that's what it is. And I also think that ADHD has helped me, and my life and career guided by ADHD, has helped me perhaps figure out my perspective on marketing and why I think I've come to this point where people appreciate my opinion, want me involved with their business, and why I'm able to sell what I now sell. So before we move on to a marketing section, although there'll be marketing insight hopefully dripped throughout, I just want to tell you about ADHD, how it steered me. It's also particularly relevant right now. I think mental health is hugely talked about at the moment, especially anxiety and depression throughout the pandemic, and ADHD is at an all-time high. There's a 2-year waiting list if you want to see if you have definitely got it. You can do the tests online, use an app. You want to see if you got it for definite. There's a 2-year waiting list at the moment, so it's definitely on the rise. Here's the NHS. Let's cover this first. The agenda. Make sure you've got a map, something which we don't normally bother with, ADHD people, which is why I skipped it. So I'm going to talk you through my next adventure. And the superpowers, it's not my term. A lot of ADHD people are talking about it online and on TikTok. We talk about it as a superpower rather than an affliction or something that holds you back. Obviously, I'll tell you about marketing 101, and then we'll move on to Q&T, because I don't do answers, I only do waffle and tangents. So that'll be the end. And hopefully, a spoonful of ADHD. I'm hoping that this is what I'm desperately trying to drag out, is that maybe there's something that I can suggest you try, which is natural to someone with ADHD, that maybe is less natural to people without it. My marketing perspective, give you some thoughts, and hopefully at least one light bulb moment, which is all I ask for when I come to a conference or an event or a presentation. If I can go away with one idea, I think that's probably, hopefully 45 minutes to an hour well spent. So that's the plan, if you'll allow me. So ADHD, attention deficit disorder and hyperactivity. The NHS say attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, is a condition that affects people's behaviour. They can seem restless, may have trouble concentrating, and may act on impulse. I consider kind of throwing myself through a window at that moment, but we'll keep it in the room. So that's what they say. Does that kind of ring true as to what everyone else knows about ADHD? Its symptoms, again, as listed by the NHS. I'm not going to read through them. You can read them. But whilst you're reading through them, the thing with the symptoms is that I think, as with so many things that have been discovered in the past, and we've now grown to learn a bit more about them, ADHD has probably been mislabeled a little bit. Things like depression. Depression isn't feeling sad. The feeling of being depressed about something is not the same as depression. Anxiety isn't being nervous about something. Having a panic attack is not because you're panicked about something in particular. They're way more in depth than that, and again, the sum of their own parts, those afflictions. And attention deficit disorder has been named incorrectly. Attention deficit is the opposite. We are hyper-focused. We're paying attention to too much. Our brains are little pinball machines. The outcome's the same. We probably struggle to focus on one thing, or the one thing we're supposed to be focusing on. But it's been misnamed to a degree. And I think these symptoms, whilst they can look kind of rough and difficult to deal with as a child, as an adult they come out, and you can actually turn almost all of these around. In fact, all of them. I went through them. I won't go through all of them with you. But for example, risk taker and carelessness and lack of attention to detail. As an adult, if you harness that, then perhaps you're a risk taker and a big thinker or a dreamer. These ones down the bottom involved difficulty being quiet, speaking out of turn, extreme impatience. These are things that Elon Musk, for example, actively encourages. If you know the answer, crack on. If you have solved it already, don't just waste time kind of listening for politeness. And restless and edginess, that's just boundless energy, right? And who doesn't want that on their team? So this is really the essence of what I've realised, which is that ADHD has helped me through business, helped me through my life, and given me a quite a unique perspective, which is now, I believe, kind of what I sell. So a very quick, long and winding road. So my ADHD was first spotted by my maths teacher in primary school. She suggested that maybe I take up drums to get rid of my energy, preferably on the lunch break before her class. Obviously I said yes, that's what we do. Not that a child saying yes to a teacher's suggestion and hobby is anything abnormal, I'm not suggesting that at all. 30 years later, still drumming, as I mentioned. I've been in wind orchestras, jazz bands, rock, punk, metal, ska bands. I've been a nightclub percussionist, a drum teacher. I've choreographed stomp-style trash percussion shows in a couple of countries around the world, with E3, in fact. Another yes moment came from just a rumour. I was again in primary school. I'd never even thought about getting into drama or acting or anything like that. And I'd overheard, or a friend had overheard the headmaster saying that this year's play was going to be The Servant of Two Masters. In the lead, it needed someone with huge amounts of energy, ability to pick things up quickly. They'd need to learn to juggle. They'd need to bounce when they fall, because there's a lot of kind of slapstick stuff. There was 500 lines to learn in the script, which is 4 times more than any other character, a huge undertaking. And he'd said to this other teacher, someone like Alex Ryan. And of course, when my friend told me, my heart kind of swelled. And I said, yes, of course I did. Again, not that abnormal for a child to say yes to something to that, like that. But over the next decade, I took acting very seriously, all pretty local youth groups, pantomimes, musicals, straight theatre. I took drama and theatre studies at A-level, and I even went to a stage school for a couple of years, and auditioned for adverts and musicals. And whilst that has ended, I can still feel, and this is the point that I'm getting to with the experiences, I still feel that experience in itself, that one experience, has formed part of me and who I am. I'm sure you all feel the same. What you've done, what you've studied, has added to your list of perspectives. So as I said, it's not strange for a kid to say yes to hobbies at that age, or to carry them on as interests, or for those interests to, when I'm doing my vlogging or podcasting or presenting, that time in my youth, acting has certainly helped that. But again, I started to discuss this with my parents, and it seems that I took literally every opportunity, that every school and every college, every hobby, every sport, every after-school club, everything that the school had to offer, I said yes. I did it all. I was on the school team for cricket, hockey, I've got a list, rugby, football, because I can't remember. We're not good at remembering things, people with ADHD. The past is the past. I was competing at the county for athletics, for long distance running, or weirdly, high jump and long jump, given my height. I competed nationally at orienteering and taekwondo. I won 3 gold medals at the British Taekwondo Championships. I said yes to chess club, to Warhammer club, to public speaking club, which I eventually ran. I said yes to the Scouts. I said yes to joining the prestigious school church choir, the famous, very well-known church choir, and we sang at Sting's wedding. We were asked to be the choirs at 4 weddings and a funeral on the film. So I said yes to everything. And I know,
I'm feeling tired.
I know, I'm so sorry. Sometimes you need to strap in when it comes to an ADHD presentation. I can spot them a mile off now, other people presenting with it. Finally, after all that, I was made head boy of my secondary school, which was a huge achievement for me. I was bottom of the pile in my relatively posh private primary school. My nickname was Ragged Ryan, because my uniform would last about 10 minutes out of the car before there was a tree to climb, or someone to wrestle. And it was very academically focused, and it was a bit of a struggle for me. I was good at the artsy stuff, the sporty stuff. So I moved to a state secondary school, a great move, where I thrived with the sports and arts. And as I said, ended up as head boy there, which was a huge achievement, but of course the ADHD took over that particular day. So excited that I ended up on that very day with 2 detentions to be served back to back for being disruptive in class. Well done, new head boy. Excellent, excellent work. But that's the ADHD thing. So that was my childhood. My family nickname, by the way, for me was Whirlwind, because that was the kind of vibe I created in the household. And again, Whirlwind is something that I feel a lot of affinity with my career. Again, it's been a very yes, I'll do that career. I've almost always had 2, 3, 4 jobs at any one time, and I won't go through the full list with you. I'm just going to put it up so you can again read it at your leisure. A caveat: I'm sure other people have had as varied careers as I have, without ADHD on their shoulder. I often kind of see ADHD as, you've got your angel and your demon, and I have my ADHD, except he's got the loud hailer, and maybe the reins. So that's how I viewed this. But absolutely, I know people have had incredibly varied careers or experiences, Neil, obviously. So if you feel affinity to this kind of list, I'd love to talk and see what's driven you. So yeah, to keep this a bit quicker, this is the list of things that I've considered my jobs in the last, since chorister, so let's say 15. Jobs being I did time and I got paid. None of these were less than a few years. To pick out a couple there, so lecturer, I've been lecturing for Brighton Institute of Modern Music for 6 years, because I have experience both in the music industry and in marketing, so I lecture for them. Stage manager, all over the place. The most interesting, I ended up in Venice with the comedian Tim Vine, stage managing his show. Production director with the brilliant National Student Pride. They asked me if I would, they knew I did sound engineering and light and tech and DJing and that kind of stuff. They'd asked me if I joined the board as production director. This was when they were a small operation back in Brighton. 10 years later, we got them up to London, a huge event with 100+ universities attending, and the steering committee in Downing Street. Sound engineer, I've toured Europe as a sound engineer for Keith Jarrett, one of the world's most famous random jazz musicians, dangling microphones off the Venice, Munich, Zurich national theatres, size of 6 football pitches. Barman for 10 years, not to be ignored. Everyone should do customer service once in their life. Again, 10 years as a barman, 15 years as a DJ, huge success as a DJ, probably my proudest kind of career before becoming a marketer. Supported the likes of Fatboy Slim and the Freemasons, played for Head Candy, played for Ministry of Sound and Pasha. Radio host, at one point I had 1 million listeners a month on one of the world's largest gay radio stations, Gadio, and tour manager. Again with E3, I did some tour managing work with E3, taking a comedian across Canada, chaperoning a supermodel into a golf event that we had to leave in a hurry. So that's it. So the reason I'm bringing all this to you is, so we're getting to the point, is that it's twofold, right? Firstly, I guess I believe that my parts have created a successful sum. So when we're talking about perspectives, I've gathered a lot. I've met a lot of people and I've said yes to everything. And I realised I remembered another job as I was sat at the table. This is absolutely not exhaustive. I've just remembered another. I did some PR for a while. So I believe that these gathering of perspectives can be incredibly useful. And that's going to be one of the things I'm going to try and advise as one of our learnings, this spoonful of ADHD is to gather more perspectives. I want to try and dispel the idea that people with ADHD can't be organised, or they're always going to struggle in school, in business and relationships. So to see what we can learn from ADHD, because as I said, a lot of people talk about it as a superpower, and I'm going to talk about what I think the superpowers I've gained from it are. So these are the 4 things I think that other people could try and embrace a little bit more with their ADHD. Be more ADHD. So say yes more often. Try everything once, not just anything. And being more impulsive. I think it's an exciting thing to be around. It's an amazing way of increasing your own perspectives. No doubt being at the top of Everest near potentially the end of your life brings some amazing perspectives to you. But it doesn't need to be that extreme. You ever tried making your own beer? That could offer you a brand new perspective on things. Just layering hobbies, layering interests, layering moments and experiences throughout your life, I think it just adds so much perspective to you and help you be a more versatile, perhaps a more daring business person. Distraction is a wonderful, wonderful thing. Distracting yourself with secondary, tertiary jobs, layer upon layer of hobbies or friendships, learning new things can give you ideas and solutions. Distraction can do that thing, you know, when you're dreaming, where your brain will join things up that your conscious brain can't do. Distraction can do that. All my best ideas are in the shower when I'm not thinking about what I'm supposed to be thinking about. And distraction can do that for you as well, help you give you those solutions. So get distracted. There's nothing wrong with it. We don't always need to be focused. Next thing, bit cheesy, live in the moment, and variety is the spice of life. But again, this is what we do. ADHD people often describe themselves as their lives as curvy linear rather than linear. We are bad at the past and the future. So I have no visual memories really of my past from yesterday or before. I don't know how normal that is, but as in, I have a list of things I know I've done. I have the photographs to prove it, and I have the friends or family to remind me about these things. But actually, when it comes to visual memories, there's nothing really there. We're very bad at planning for the future. Despite our business coach's best advice, it's very hard for us to think that far ahead. We are in the present, but that makes us exciting people to be around, both in the world of friends and you know, social life, but also in the world of business. I think, you know, balanced perspectives, balanced opinions, in a room full of planners, if you can be that person that's actually in the moment, it can be a great kind of balance to that meeting and to that moment. And of course, variety, the more rounded collection of experiences you can gather, and therefore perspectives, the better decisions I think you can make. My superpowers, boundless energy. Everyone wants that on their team. Great for sports, great for a night out, but also great for business, great for meetings, great for the creative parts of business. Inspiring motivator. I don't call myself this, by the way. This was anyone done insights? You know, the check where you answer 100 of just loads of questions. You get this report like someone's been following you around for a month. It's incredible. It tells you everything about yourself. I was very much a yellow. They call it sunshine yellow, which is your kind of energy, happy, involve me colour. And then it narrows down to lots of unique kind of names. And I was an inspiring motivator, which is again something I wouldn't wear a badge, saying that's a bit much, but I get it in the type people. I think people find my energy and excitement quite infectious. The ability to say yes to everything, or maybe it's not an ability, that, you know, the error in saying yes to everything can be exciting. A passion for the right idea, I think, is one of my superpowers, inherent in me. And I think that's where the kind of influencer persuader comes from as well. So again, I've had this feedback that I'm a great influencer. And I find that empathy is very high in people with ADHD. Because we are hyper-focused and we're paying more attention to everything, we can understand people better. We can get inside that headspace a little bit quicker. Especially people who are blinkered, which is, again, where I think perhaps my marketing consultancy has worked out well for me. Trying to help people remove those blinkers. I call it fresh ears, fresh eyes. And again, that's something that I think everyone can benefit from, is you can't do it yourself. You cannot do it yourself. You can't take the blinkers off your own business, but you can ask other people for their advice. You can ask for different perspectives, whoever that is in your life, but you've got to be able to listen to the answers, which can be the tough bit. I'm an end of arguments. I cannot be in the doghouse overnight. Again, whether it's the anxiety or the ADHD, we need to resolve things. People with ADHD, they play on our mind. We hyper-focus on them. I'm always that person in the middle of both friendship and business arguments that sorts things out. I'm an explainer, so messy brain means I have to tidy it for myself, which means I'm great at explaining things. And that's one of the ethoses of my marketing agency, is to clear the fog. So many marketing agencies throw up this impenetrable fog around what they're selling to try and carry on selling it. And I work hard to pull down that barrier. Marketing is just a set of tools and some logic. There's not much beyond it. You know, if you go into branding, then perhaps there's a bit more of the dark arts. Perhaps if you go too deep into SEO with your citations and backlinks, then yeah, there's some dark arts there as well. But really, marketing is a set of tools. They're available to everyone. You only have so much time, you only have so much money. So do a matrix and choose the right tools for your business. But the main thing I think I've gathered from my ADHD and from my experiences is perspectives, and that ability to think perhaps with a few different hats on. An example, I have a client called Barry Parsmore, who are an estate agency, and they came to me because, understandably, they wanted to sell more houses, right? What else is an estate agent going to do? We looked at all the traditional methods, your blogging, your pay-per-click, advertising, investing in those apps, those websites. You know, you can pay for better rankings on Rightmove and Zoopla. They were never going to win. Every time we looked at something, there's just too many big players. This was a small family-run business. They're entirely online, no shop front. So I decided to dig deeper, and we spent more time talking. And eventually it came out that they had recently engaged an associate, right? We all know that that's fluff for someone that pays commission, right? It's or someone that they upsell or mark up. But this person had appeared. They put them up in a relatively small community further up in Middle England, and they were having this huge success. There were no other estate agents nearby. This person was local. They were trusted. They were selling, and Barry Parsmore were getting in commission about 100k a year back on the bottom line, or in turnover at least. Not to be sniffed at, but they hadn't thought to mention that before, because of course there's a larger part of the business. So my thought, and this is a question I ask almost every lead or person that I talk to about their marketing. I think it was the first question I asked you at dinner was, what are you doing now? What works? What are you selling? Who are you selling it to? Ask yourself that question. What works now? Where is my business coming from? Where are my leads coming from? Where are my customers coming from? And then ask yourself a really simple question, is can I do more of it? So many times people jump to, oh, my social media isn't good enough, or my Instagram's flagging, or I really need to get some press coverage. But have they stopped and looked at where the customers are coming from now, and asked if they can do more from it? So if networking's your bag, can you do more networking? You've turned that into a business. Do more networking, do better networking, do better follow-up, work on your pitch, work on your business card, all the basics. Can you find someone to go and network in a different area from someone else in your business to go and network somewhere else? Just do more of it. If email works for you, send more email more regularly. How can you increase your email list? How can you deliver better messaging? How can you make your emails prettier? Put better offers or write more engaging content so that you're not always selling in your emails. If word of mouth, which is always a big one, people say, yeah, but what about word of mouth? You can't do better word of mouth marketing. Absolutely you can. You need to increase your brand awareness with your existing customers. Where else does word of mouth come from? Except your existing network, right? They've heard of you. That's word of mouth. So increase your brand awareness, do more social media, do more email marketing, do a reward system for introductions and referrals to your existing clients. So whatever you do now that works, do more of it. And that's the first thing. And that's what we did with Barry Parsmore. We wrote up that associates offering, what it's like to be an associate for Barry Parsmore. We worked on the content, we worked on some imagery, we made a whole new web page, landing page for it, and then we ran some recruitment adverts. We ran these adverts on LinkedIn and Facebook saying, do you want to make some side hustle money? Some of the adverts were like for a full-time role, and it worked. Within 2 weeks they had boundless applications and 3 new associates that they'd engaged with the business. And that is now the estate agent's marketing model. They don't sell houses, they recruit associates in areas where there are no other estate agencies. And that's where perspective comes into things. I guess it's a fluffy way of saying think outside the box, but I think really that's what someone can do for your business. Anyone with a different perspective, help you think of a different way of selling. Because you could be blinkered. They've been trying to sell houses for a decade, and we've completely changed that. So the birth of Marketing 101. Prior to that, I was with Paladone, who sell design and manufacture. Design and manufacture merchandise around the world, and prior to that I was actually with E3. So I was with E3 as a very low level marketing executive. I was really just admin, dog's body, made cups of tea for David, that kind of thing.
What year was that?
That would have been 2012 to 2010 to 13. I joined Paladone in 2014, so yeah, the 3 years prior to that. And it was a great place to work, a lot of fun, some very, very happy times. But someone showed me an advert for Paladone. It was the head of marketing, which it was a huge leap for me, maybe 3-4 times the salary that I was earning as this administrator. But obviously I said yes, and applied for the job and got an interview in a couple of weeks. And then I panicked because I didn't really know anything about marketing. I was doing a bit of email, I was doing a bit of social media, but really it wasn't proper marketing. So I went online and I bought this DVD, 77 Ways to Get More Customers. I studied this for 2 weeks and I applied it all to Paladone. I thought, I know this business now, I've got everything online. And I learned how to market within the space. So to answer your question, Neil, no, I haven't been to university or done any official marketing training. And that's because, as we were talking about, I believe that marketing is a gut feeling. Surely all marketing is putting yourself in the shoes of your customers. And trying to understand what messaging people would most like to hear. So I studied that. I don't know if it's dishonest or not, because I joined Paladone at 12 million and left them 6 years later at 60 million. So
60?
maybe 12 to 60 in 6 years. I think they did 75 this year without me, so maybe it was nothing to do with me. But the point is, I guess, is that, what is the point? What is the point? Oh, if this is the first time I've lost myself today, then that's all right. Let me recoup. So yes, Paladone, 6 great years. What we did at Paladone, and I guess this is next perhaps takeaway, is, and to answer your point, Neil, about how you were more of a knocker-down Dora than a marketer, I think that's right. I think they are separate. People always talk about sales and marketing. Well, why have 2 names for them if you're going to lump them all together? Of course they're intertwined. Now, I went to Paladone with this DVD's perspective, which became my own, which sales and marketing need to be torn apart. Marketing needs to be thought about as your inbound sales driver. So by that, I mean just making the business an amazing place to buy from. It's a magnet, okay? And your sales division is your outbound, it's your outreach. They go and have the meetings, they go and do the research and find that next larger customer. But marketing's job is to keep that repeat business. And to draw people in that way, make it a great company to want to be engaged with. So we did that through 2 rebrands in my time there. I wasn't just head of marketing. I was also the fire warden, the first aider, head of the charity committee, head of social, head of eco. And when we moved office from a 50 person to 100 person, they said, does anyone want to design the new office? And obviously I got my hand. So I did everything from electrical points to floor to furniture to lights to installs to hiring the office plants, obviously. But the main thing I did, we undertook a couple of rebrands in my time, and that was part of a focus on creating a business that customers loved to buy from. My goal was simply to build a wall between us and our competitors. We were going to be better at our competitors, but at customer support, collateral, like amazing catalogues we made, and better photography and video that they could ever have. Better trade show stands than any of our competitors. I did 450-ish trade shows over the course of my 6 years at Paladone across the world, and they were always better than our competitors. It was a key strategy. Better social media, better website to use, just better everything. I mean, you don't need to be that much better. You just need to do everything slightly better than the competitors. So that was our part of the growth. We increased customer retention, we increased brand awareness, customer attraction. We had a great sales team, we had great product development as well. And that combined was where we had that amazing success and that amazing growth in those 6 years. But all good things come to an end. I had to furlough my entire team, furlough myself during the pandemic. It took a week. I learned woodwork, built a woodshed, learned to handstand, started a couple of other hobbies, gave them all up, went back to marketing and became the furloughed marketer. I did a voluntary marketing stint, about 3 months, just supporting businesses that couldn't trade in the pandemic. And I really enjoyed it. And then there was whisperings of voluntary redundancy for everyone from Paladone to help them make the involuntary redundancy a bit easier, and I took it. So that was the birth of Marketing 101. It was great. I already had clients. Okay, they weren't paying. That was difficult. Lost most of them, but I had advocates. I had people that were grateful for those 3 months. I had testimonials, referrals. So by the end of October that year, Marketing 101 had been alive for about 3-4 months, and I basically managed to replace my Paladone salary. So that was the affirmation for me. That was the moment I was like, excellent, this is the right thing to do. And that's about it for the Paladone, the Marketing 101 story. I've recruited 1 full-time member of staff since, and a couple of part-time admin associates, again, that bluff for the fact I don't really employ them, they're self-employed. And right now I've boiled down from 25 customers last year at my peak, down to just 6. It's been an active decision. There are things that an ADHD brain can't do, and that is deal with a lot of customers. The trying to step from spend an hour in the mindset of a games development company into the estate agent, into the construction business, into the people that sell fish was too much. So boiled down to 6 customers, and it's been great. It's been absolutely fantastic. The one thing again that I just want to kind of revisit before I move to the final page and invite questions is the couple of things that I think are most important from a marketing ethos perspective, and that is, again, if you know where your customers come from, do more of it. That's why I do networking. That's why I network. Basically, my whole marketing model is really simple. I network, I grow my audience, and then I do podcasts and videos and blogs, and I pump them into that. It's a very, very simple model. And I'm a marketing agency. You'd think I would be all over social media and do pay-per-click and SEO, but it's all about finding what is right for your business, and don't listen to anyone except you just have to wipe what people say about, oh yeah, Instagram Reels, it's all the rage. You can put a link on there now. Just focus. You're a plumber. Do you need Instagram, Mr. Plumber? So that's the thing. Boil it down. I always position myself as an editor, not a creator. Again, sorry, I don't know. I'm revisiting our lunchtime talk. I think that's something to really think about, is understand your role within a business. I don't create. I can't create. What I do is I take other people's creations and I polish them. With my perspectives. And if you are that person, so you're a creator, an inventor, are you also the editor? Do you have that outside perspective? Do you have the right person? And I don't want to sound selling here. I'm not saying I'm the right person, but do you have that right person in your life who is your editor, your blinker remover, your perspective, your fresh ears and fresh eyes? And finally, I'd like to leave you with an analogy about bees. Because bees, I think when people say, kind of what animal do you feel most closely associated? I've always felt bees. And then a while back, I heard this thing about bees, which fascinated me. Because, of course it does, bees obey the law of Pareto, right? 80-20 theory. Of course they do, it's nature, everything does. Bees, they talk about a hive of honeybees. 80% go off to where they know their flowers are, and they gather the pollen. And I don't want to get too scientific, I don't know that. They make the honey. 80%, but 20% go off in a different direction. They take that risk, they try something new, they disappear out and they find that next field, whatever, the next big thing, once that one's all dried up. And I think that there's obviously a huge amount of learning we can take there. That yes, you should absolutely focus on what is right for your business and what is safe and what you know is going to work. But I do think if you can be a bit more bee, try new things, you might be one of the first businesses on TikTok, or whatever the next big platform is. You might get there first. You might just stumble across something which no one in your trade or your industry has ever tried before from a marketing perspective, and it works for you. So that is my leaving message. Oh, it was going to happen on the last slide. I clearly
don't believe it.
My closing. This is the fireworks. What? Oh, here we go. Be more B, be more ADHD. And those are the salient points, I think, to remember from this. Thank you very much.
Well done.
Q&T. for questions?
Absolutely, yeah, please, Alex.
Thank
Well
you.
done. That was absolutely. I'm almost exhausted.
I am.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
I mean, isn't it amazing? I mean, all these 5 minutes, Alex, I've been listening to you, and you go deeper. You give somebody 45 minutes, and wow, that was just a roller coaster. Had no
Thank
idea that all of that backstory and all of your experiences, and yeah, just extraordinary.
I hope there was some takeaways. That was a struggle when thinking about this. I came to this revelation. I was like, I need to tell someone about this.
No, I mean, I've got
self-realisation. It's very
loads of stuff.
selfish. But
You know, the main thing for me was do more of what works, which is great. Incidentally, I took some people last year, I continued to take people to Africa, a brilliant continent. We were sat around the fire and we were doing this game. If you were an animal, what would you be? So we did it secretly, so I sort of coordinated, but I got everybody to fill in their sheet of what I thought, you thought Chris would be as an animal. And of course, the person themselves gets to choose the animal that they think they are. It's a really fascinating game. So obviously you think you're a bee, you'd never guess. And people thought I might be a lion or a tiger or giraffe or something. No, I chose warthog. I'll leave that with you. You can have a think about that and mull that over. That I associate myself as a warthog.
But that's the opposing positions, that you only know yourself so well. And I think asking other people what animal they think you are, that again, you can apply that to your business. You're in there like this, and I think that is, putting your head above or asking someone else to do that is just so important.
I've got loads of questions. I'm going to ask one, and then I'm going to spin around and ask if anybody else has got one. The first thing I'd like to ask you is, if I'm employing somebody with ADHD, what would your tips be for managing that person?
I think you need to figure out how, and maybe they know, maybe they don't, how well they are at managing it themselves. I think when I mentioned to you that was what I was planning to talk about, you mentioned that you had no idea that I had ADHD, or that I have anxiety. Thankfully not. I get weird anxiety in weird times, like in restaurants, not in standing up presenting or DJing. It's very strange, which is why it's not really anxiety. The point, sorry, I promised tangents, didn't I, rather than answers. The point is that you might not need to make any allowances at all in order to manage them, but allowing them perhaps to thrive is more important. Again, forget the symptoms and think about the superpowers. What can you use this person for? Good leaders, because kind of you can draw people on with your energy. Great for brainstorms and ideas. Great for variety. Mixing written and computer with out and about and physical tasks. I think that's probably more important. The one thing you may struggle with, even as an adult, is perhaps an overarching term would be rowdiness. It's that nature to blurt out to ADHD. A lot of people talk about it. ADHD brains can seem to be able to pick up what you're laying down much quicker, perhaps, than you're saying it, and that's where sometimes a vacant look might appear.
So they get bored easily and they switch off.
Bored easily, but not because
perceived as being arrogant or disengaged or
exactly, yeah. But it's not. It's perhaps because they've got to the end of your sentence and understood from your body language or everything else that's going on around, already kind of understanding what you're trying to get to.
So when somebody asks you a long-winded question, you already, come on, get on with it, finish the question.
Sorry, what was that?
Yeah.
I had to. Absolutely. Long-winded questions.
And would a tip be, give somebody with ADHD in your team loads of stuff to do, start that, try that, do that, or maybe not?
Oh, I don't know. That's a difficult one. I work better on many projects at the time. I don't know if you saw the windows, everything open, unread emails. It might seem kind of scatterbrained, I guess, to other people, but they all build their own processes. So I think helping with priorities is probably a really important one, and really being very clear. It's harking back to my time at Paladone. I wasn't very good when my boss, the commercial director, would say something like, I'm just trying to recall something, but he'd say something like, "Oh, we just need to be more present in the market. Can you perhaps look at the wording on the website and maybe pull together some surrounding objectives?" And I'm like, "So is that a Word doc you want, or I don't. The output is really hard. So you need to be very specific, I think, about what you are asking for, especially in terms of output. Because for me, there's 100 options when it comes to a vague brief like that, and that's too many. Maybe you don't care which of those 100 options I choose, but for me, I'm going to really struggle to nail down which option I choose. So if you want stuff done quickly, do be very clear about exactly what you're asking. Do some competitor analysis. Check the data, A, B, C, D, and just bring me a Word report when you discover it. So yeah, I think offering clarity can help skip the bit which we struggle with, which is creating that clarity for ourselves.
Sure. Anybody else got a question?
This always happens. I answer everything in the presentation.
It's
done.
How do you get clients?
How do I get clients? So,
were you asleep? I'm sure you mentioned that.
Yeah, kind of. So, I only really like to work, and again, Marketing 101 is a relatively young business. I've only been in that guise for a year and a half, I guess. But in that time, I've had my journey. I've had the lots of customers where I would take anyone, and now it's about this. It's about getting to know people. I do a lot of networking, and I don't choose them. But if I find a business I find interesting, like the fishmongers down in Hove, I mean, I'm a massive seafood fan. I bought from them before. Launching a home delivery service, an e-com business, what an exciting project. And they become a target, I guess, for me, in that I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I really struggle with businesses that aren't particularly of interest to me. So if they've got a product or a service which I find exciting, that's how I go after them. But in more generic terms, yeah, as Neil said, networking and positioning myself as an authority online. So LinkedIn, I add people, most people in this room, I think I'm probably connected with, and if not, I will be after this meeting, because that is exactly what I do. I get every meeting I go through the list of attendees and I add them. Leave it a week, that's a good one. Leave it a week before you add someone on LinkedIn, because that's when you get that, I was just thinking of you. You feel really proactive then, rather than I've done the meeting now, I've added you and done forever. Add them a week later, and then ignore their message. Touch point marketing, it's pretty standard. But yeah, that's it. But mainly through LinkedIn and presenting myself to largely the Brighton industry as a font of marketing knowledge and as an expert, which is all lies, of course, because it's just all. Yeah.
Any other questions?
I'll ask one. What's your typical marketing spend? I mean, are you able to achieve what you do with these companies with minimal marketing spend, or do you have big budgets? Or?
No, and that unfortunately is, there are only two ways to achieve marketing. That is with resource or time. So generally businesses I work with, they don't have any internal resource. Maybe there's someone at admin level or a marketing junior who can help do some of the grunt work. But beyond that, okay, there's a third way, go viral, right? So you accidentally make an amazing video of your product that lands on TikTok and everyone loves it. I've done that, I did that once with Paladone. We had a mug, it was amazing, it was an incredible couple of months. A lightsaber mug, heat change. It was like all the lightsabers and you poured the water in and then the lightsabers appeared, super nerdy. And some chef in America did a 10-second, probably it was a Vine at that point or whatever, and it went across the world. And these £7 mugs were selling for 50 quid on eBay. Everywhere was out of stock. Millions of views of these videos. So yes, that's one other way. That's the only way you can do it without resource or money. So you must have a marketing spend. If you are not willing to invest in marketing, then you've only got one other option, which is to spend your own time networking and getting out there and selling your own product. So no, I generally, I don't have a cap of businesses that I work with. But generally, 5% of your turnover should be reinvested into marketing. Standard, if you're looking for rapid growth, then 10%. You'll find 11, 12%, which thankfully is what the fish client, they're really serious about growing that order at home business. They've gone for 12.5% reinvestment of turnover. So you must have budget for marketing. Anyone telling you otherwise, it's a myth. You won't get good photo, you won't get good copy, you won't get reach on social media. Social media, you cannot go viral properly anymore. You must pay to play on all platforms, SEO, pay-per-click, PR. You must
Do you
have
bill
budget.
yourself like solicitors on time or results, or how do you?
No, I generally do project-based, which then reverts backwards into time. So what actually the complexity of my business model is that I almost have to budget for everyone else as well. So I would go to take this fish client and I'd say, here's your 12-month marketing campaign, here's my slice, and here's the other 10 suppliers. That I'm not going to go to those 10 suppliers every time and get to re-quote. So there's a bit of guesswork involved there. Educated guess. All these suppliers are people I've worked with before. They're rarely fresh faces, tried and tested suppliers and third parties, freelancers. So that's what I have to do is effectively budget. I'm doing the role of a marketing manager for them, but even at that point before they've engaged me, here's a marketing budget, cost it out with all your suppliers. So yeah, that's how I work it. And of course, all the other elements are priced differently. Maybe it's just 500 quid a month on PR because that's what I know he charges. I don't know how many days we get for it. It doesn't matter. We'll get this many placements. But for me, I have a day rate as a consultant, and that's my proxy marketing manager day rate. That's how I cost myself.
Is anyone else surprised that Alex has only wants 6 clients after all that ADHD stuff? I'm surprised.
So
why only 6?
We worked with most of them already. I think that's
Yeah, I got through all of Friday.
Yeah, there's 6 more you haven't.
No, it's that tidying thing that we have to do. So I mean, so again, ADHD, very disorganised, right? I'm not. I was a disorganised child, a disorganised teenager. But you can learn things, isn't it? You train yourself out of it. I'm a very bad driver, but only on the inside. I'm now a very good driver because I've become aware that I'm a bad driver. So actually, I'm a very good driver, and I haven't crashed a car since I was in my early 20s. So you make accountancies, and that's one of those things.
But
in that
if
I've
you've got a
realised.
business, why not employ more people and you've got the business coming in to take on other projects and expand?
So at Paladone, when I arrived, I was the head of the marketing department of no people. I was the only marketer. And when I left, I had a global team, and I did no marketing. I was just a manager of people. I was hiring and firing, making people redundant, and doing all the disciplinaries and all that stuff. And I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in people and their businesses and their ideas and their products. And I have one team member who is so low management, he can stay. Like, that's great. It doesn't interest me. Some people want a giant business that they can grow and sell, and maybe one day I will. But I'm enjoying being a consultant. From those 6 clients, I earn what I need to earn, and that's kind of me content for a while. And maybe I would have said something differently a year ago, and I'll probably say something different next year. Obviously, that's the way I am. But no, right now I just want to. I get to over deliver on those clients. I give them all more time than they're paying for, because I'm not going to sit around twiddling my thumbs, not waiting for more clients because I don't want them. So it's a nice position. But those 6 clients are all of a decent enough size, as I said.
But if I came along with a wedge of cash and said, I want you to help me, would you have bandwidth to do that?
Absolutely, and that's the point. Again, Ed and I talked about this in that I over deliver at the moment. So I split my time and my business's time between 6 clients. There is more time in the bank, but I'm choosy. I want to work with people I want to work with. I want to work with businesses and products and services that actually interest me. So if you are selling pensions or finance or utilities, I just can't get interested. I can't. Yeah, I mean, I struggle a bit with estate agency, if I'm honest. But they're great people. They're wonderful people. So yeah, that's why 6. Yeah.
Anybody got anything else before we have a break?
Yeah. Do you? So if I come to you and say I don't actually have a marketing plan whatsoever, and that may or may not be the case.
Yeah.
Divulge that. but so would you be willing to kind of take that on like an embryonic state and spend
Absolutely.
time to actually develop a strategy?
Yeah, I mean, again, awesome product. I think that the way I work in those situations, it wouldn't be the first time. We need to discuss. You can pay someone to create a marketing strategy. That could be someone who potentially has already worked and delivered strategies within this trade, or it could be me that creates that strategy. That can be a separate deal, or more often than not, what I end up doing is several meetings, we draw things together, we figure out the strategy together, and that is all those kind of, I don't charge for those beginning bits as long as I feel like there's business down the line, right? So that's why it's about finding the right people. So the marketing strategy element is almost the bit that so many marketers seem to charge so much for, which I don't believe in. I've already said, marketing is a toolkit, and you grab what you need, but only what you need, and you use it wisely. I think people overcharge for that service. So, yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't expect any of my customers to have a marketing strategy when they come to me, or if they did, then it's probably not a great one, because they won't have a marketing manager or a marketing solution internally. So,
if they do, it's probably not working if they're coming to you.
I didn't want to say that, but that as well. So it's an
Cut to the chase.
open and honest forum. I forgot. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I've absolutely worked with businesses.
So that's the fundamental for you, is
a standard, yeah, is the creation of the marketing strategy. I don't really want to jump into anyone else's marketing strategy unless they're ready for me to pull the blinkers off and tweak it.
The offering has to be exciting enough for Alex to get involved.
I know, isn't that a lovely position to be in?
Yeah, fantastic. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a good position to be in.
It feels.
I've got
tidy.
one final question before we break for a cup of tea. Of course, I'm asking on behalf of Chris
Of course.
Mansfield. How do you become a member of the Stupid Boys Club?
Well, you probably can't. We've been friends a long time. We've been through a lot. Some very messy festivals, some awful, weird experiences. They're my two besties. But we have had, become a celebrity. We've had some celebrity guests on the Stupid Boys Club. So if you could become the world's second most famous drag queen, like Bianca Del Rio, any drag race fans in the room? No? Okay.
He's got good cheekbones.
Absolutely. And tall, excellent in heels, I've heard. Yeah, that's the only way, I'm afraid, to become a celeb.
Brilliant. Well, Alex, thank you so much. That was fabulous.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, your nickname, the Whirlwind. I wrote down human dynamo in my notes here, and that was just.
I'll take it.
Tasmanian devil.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
that has
right.
connotations of bitey, bloody.
Cartoon.
Human dynamo is power generation.
Taz.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the cartoon, not the actual animal.
Not the actual
itself.
vicious rodent.
Yeah, that's what I'm calling you a rodent. The cartoon.
She's back spading now.
Yeah.
No, that was fabulous, and exactly the kind of insights and honesty and interest story, backstories, and some takeaways that we're after as for our guest speakers on these events. So thank you very much.
I appreciate it.
Let's give them a round of applause.
Thank you very much.